Hey everybody, hope you're having a fantastic week. This week in our preschool area for the week of February the 23rd will be the story of Esther. And this is the last story in your winter curriculum guide. Next week we'll switch to the new spring one. So this is the very last lesson in that winter one. For the book of Esther, it's about 10 chapters. It's not super long. There is a lot of information that you probably will kind of skip over and not have time to really explain the whole of it to your preschool class this week, but it's great information for you to read to kind of give you a whole context of the story of Esther. So Esther was a Jew who was living in Persia at the time, and the king Ahasuerus had a wife named Vashti, and he got rid of her through kind of a crazy series of circumstances. You can read about that in the first chapter of Esther. And then he finds himself without a queen. And so he kind of holds a gathering up, recruiting thing of all of the eligible young ladies in the nation, whether they are willing or not, and brings them to the palace. They go through this crazy beauty ritual and then kind of have a beauty pageant. And through this series of circumstances, Esther becomes queen. And so she is now the queen, but she does not have the same power as a king. She has some authority and some responsibilities, but the king is still the ultimate authority. And so she still is in fear for her life if she does not follow things that he asks her to do. And he still has this kind of incredible power. So her cousin Mordecai, who had raised her, works at the palace, and he comes to find out about a scheme that Haman, the king's right-hand man, has to get rid of all of the Jews. And so he reveals this to Esther and tells her, perhaps this is the reason why you were made queen. You need to go to the king and you need to tell him of this. And Esther, rightfully so, is very much afraid because she has to go against the king a little bit and to challenge kind of that authority to step out in a place of vulnerability to be recognized by the king. And so she asks her cousin to tell all of the Jews to fast with her. And remember, we want to tell our kids, fasting is a time where you don't eat and you use that time to pray and study and really seek God's will on a matter. The kind of explanation from your curriculum on page 60 says, fasting is not eating food for an extended period of time in order to pray and discover God's will. That's a good definition for our kiddos, is it's a time where you are setting aside and denying yourself of something for the purpose of learning what God wants you to do in this situation, for asking for God's direction and favor. And so that's what Esther does. Then she goes to the king and tells him of Haman's scheme. Haman's punished for those, and Esther and her people are saved. That is the short, abbreviated version. Make sure and take time to read through that, because you can really see how God really used Esther and had been orchestrating her to be in this situation, to really influence and to be an instrument to provide this deliverance for the Jews. So that is kind of your big story. There's some great pictures of the king and kind of his royal garb, and Esther in her dress as she's approaching him, that really kind of gives a great visual picture for them. That's in your teaching pictures. There is also an activity that you're going to do with your kiddos to make a crown. So we have all the pieces already cut out for you. You'll just need to glue or tape or staple those. I'll probably put a stapler and tape in there for you, so that way you can choose. They come in several different colors, and I'll have some rhinestone sticker things that the kids can stick on there to decorate their crown, and then make sure they put their name on them, and then they can wear them. So there are 3 pieces to it. So if your kids have a larger or smaller head, you may not need to use all 3 pieces, but you can just attach them so it's the correct size for them. There's also in your activity box of curriculum, there is a mosaic, which are different shaped colored tiles that they put on to spell out the word love. Because remember, our big verse for this unit is from Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 5. Love God with all of your heart. And we see how because Esther loved God, she could pray and fast and then do what God led her to do. She acted on that. Another one is there are some pictures in your curriculum guide of people doing things that are right and things that are wrong. And you can take a cotton ball and kind of toss it. And when it lands on that picture, they have to say, is what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong? And how can we tell? And kind of talk about the picture that way. There's also a freeze dance game in there. You remember you have your DVD. And if there is a song that you want to use, we'll make sure we get you a player for that. And you will also, in the extended care, be able to now see the service in all of the classrooms. So make sure and turn that on so that way the kids can kind of hear that, and especially in that 3-year class, kind of begin to be aware of that, because some of our kiddos are close to turning 4 and ready to head into service with their parents. So that is kind of the big picture for this week. I will be praying for you this weekend as you study and prepare, and just thank you so much for all the ways that you are a blessing to our kiddos, and how you really begin to build that foundation for them as they learn to follow and trust Jesus. So I'll be praying for you. Thank you for everything that you do.